welcome to the Mastering Social Media for Schools podcast. This is a place where school communicators hang out. We're talking about K-12 school communicators, whether you are a media specialist, a secretary, a director of communications, or a superintendent or a principal. We've got all kinds of people listening to this that are responsible for social media storytelling in their school district. Today, we have a very special episode. Not only are you going to learn some great strategies about how to tackle social media in a larger school district, 18 different schools, 22 sites, about 10,000 students. We're also going to dive deep on cell phone free high school campus and how to approach it from a communication standpoint. The resources in today's episode are chock full of examples. And so if you are going cell phone free, you're navigating it, talking about it, or you know another school who is going through this, this is a great episode to share. Okay. Sharing is caring, guys. Sharing is caring. And so, whether it be other people on your leadership team that should listen to this, or whether it be some other folks that you know in school PR, I hope you share this episode because you are going to meet Mitch. Mitch is from a school district in Nebraska, and he's going to break down all of these things. And I'm so excited. But before we get into our amazing interview, I'm going to share this week's K-12 PR tip. All right, this week's K-12 PR tip is a free resource for you to use and search any topic that you might be wondering about. We're going into a new school year, whether you've been in school PR for a decade or two, or whether this is your first stint into social media for a school. The resources at my website, socialschool4edu.com, is actually searchable. We have hundreds and hundreds of podcast episodes. We have more than 500 blog articles that you can search. Now, when you are on your desktop and you go to either my blog or my podcast episodes, there's a little search bar that shows up to the right-hand side. You're looking for something on LinkedIn. You got a question about Instagram. You're curious about getting the Meta Business Portfolio set up properly, which used to be Meta Business Suite or Meta Business Manager, sorry. And then there's Meta Business Suite, all the things. You can actually search that for free, and any content that is on my website that pertains to that topic will come up. Student interns, we're going to talk about that today, okay? You're going to find a lot of resources on that. Now, if you are searching on your phone, you go to either the blog page or the podcast episodes, you're going to have to scroll to the bottom of the page, and then you're going to have that little search bar pop up. But I just wanted you to know there's video tips, right? There's the podcast, there's the helpful podcast episodes. All of that is there for free. Okay. So I just want to make sure that you know that you can search that at any time on any topic. And of course, if you've got additional questions, you can certainly try to reach out to me, Andrea at Social School for EDU. Just know that serving schools all around the world, I get a lot of messages. So the best place to stay connected to me and get some of that one-on-one help is through our membership program. But don't waver. Don't fret. We've got a lot of free resources just right there on our website. So check that out. Now let's get into this week's interview with Mitchell Roush. I am so excited to finally be staring at Mitchell Roush. How are you?
Good. How are you, Andrea?
I'm good. Two Midwesterners here hanging out. I
That's
met
right.
you. Yeah, I met you a year ago at the National School Public Relations Association in what I think is the best kept secret, the gold mine sessions that happen on Wednesday.
hmm
They truly are gold. And I sat at your table. But before we jump into the whole cell phone free campus and all of that with some of your wonderful resources, why don't you just share your background and then your role there at Grand Island Public Schools in Nebraska?
Absolutely. Thank you for the generous invitation and letting me hang out with you for a bit today. This is going to be fun.
Yeah.
So about me, again, my name is Mitch, and I like to kind of jokingly tell people I'm the one person that works in school PR that didn't start in journalism. Um, my background is in B2B marketing strategy in the marketplace. So before I joined Grand Island Public Schools, I've just finished up my fourth school year here. Before I joined that, I did content marketing and marketing strategy for a couple of big companies that have some national footprints. And so had some good success in that arena. And worked with great people, learned an awful lot. And then GIPS called me and asked if I'd be interested in doing this communication director gig. And it just kind of fell into my lap. I'm really grateful. I'm because I love being able to tell stories. I love being able to make cool things with great people. But the thing that I was missing that I realized that I really love is I love being able to do all of that and do it towards work that I really believe in. And being a part of a public school district and advocating for support of public schools and celebrating teachers who are awesome and spotlighting students, like that's my jam. So I'm here, and I love it. I've got a great team and I've got great support from our district.
Awesome. So tell me a little bit about, did you go to school for like marketing or what did you go to college for?
Yeah, so I double majored in theater and communications and marketing, and did a lot of stuff at home in addition to the stuff that I was doing professionally. So, you know, mid to 2000s, early 2010s, played around with blogging, played around with podcasting, got a lot of reps in that sort of thing, had some success with some of that stuff, both personally for like side hustle things, taught some marketing classes at some community colleges. And so just kind of collectively built a whole lot of experience. I was a speech kid in high school, and I was one of those weirdos that did extemp, and I liked extemp. So I think just connecting with people and finding good stories to tell is something that I've always been interested in.
Oh, I love it. That's great. So tell me a little bit more about the size and scope of GPIS, Grand Island Public Schools, and where are you in Nebraska?
Yeah, so Grand Island Public Schools, we're like right in the middle of
Okay.
Nebraska, which is the way I like to describe it to folks. Now we're not in Nebraska. We're not as big as some of the other states are with some really huge urban school districts. We have Omaha Public Schools, which is really big, but for us in the state of Nebraska, we're the fourth largest school district and the fourth most diverse in terms of racial representation and language representation. So we're in the middle of the state, but we are the largest in Nebraska that's not part of the Omaha Lincoln area. So when I talk to folks that are outside of Nebraska, they kind of can get their brains around where's Lincoln, where's Omaha. We're the big ones that are not in that area.
Okay.
We have 10,000-ish students, but we usually have somewhere between 11,500 and 12,000 students that come through our halls per year due to immigration and high mobility rates and things like that. We have over 55 languages of origin spoken in our district. We've got about 1,600 staff. About half of that is certified, half of that is classified. 18 schools, 22 campuses. And we have one of the largest high schools in the state of Nebraska, and we're the largest district that only has one high school. So those are some interesting nuggets about us. And then I've got a team of folks
Yeah.
on our communications team. There's me and then two other full-time folks on our team. And then we hire a high school student from our high school every year to intern with us throughout the school year as well.
Okay, great. I listened to you this much, Mitchell. I feel like we could break this down into like five different podcast episodes, which I love, and I'm sure I'll have you back. The internship program, are they with you just a certain amount of time each day, and do they get paid?
Yep, it's a paid gig.
Okay.
It's something that we're really grateful to be able to do. And we hire the student to work for us for a calendar year. We hire them at the end of the summer. They work for us through the school year. And then they're usually an upperclassman because they have to be able to drive. That's
Yep.
a deal breaker for the gig. So they're usually juniors or seniors. And so then they can work up to 19 hours per week with us per law. And so we just work around their schedules, build in some regular office time, and we give them a desk and a space in our central office, give them the equipment that they need, and train them up. and then they get to build stuff. They get to go to events and build up their skills for photography. They get to work on videos. They get to work on social media, and then they get to join a couple of our team meetings throughout the year to see what the collaboration process looks like. And then throughout the year, they work with different folks on our team to brush up on skills that we feel like are important for them to have. So I've obviously got marketing strategy, podcasting, and writing in my background. I can work on that. We've got a journalism professional on our team who's got a journalism degree, working on a newspaper before she joined our team, and does a lot of writing and photography. And then we've got a graphic designer and video editor on our team. So we're able to help our student build up their skills in that regard too.
If they're a junior, do you ever hire them back for their senior year, or do you always get a new person?
It depends on what they want to do.
Okay.
As you know, high school students are busy.
Yeah.
And so we want to make sure that if they're with us for at least a year, they can see how they grew their skills while they were with us and build a solid portfolio of stuff that they didn't just make because we told them to, but stuff that we actually used
Yeah.
and put out into the wild. And then if they want to come back, we're definitely open to it. But sometimes they're busy and they've got jobs or they're doing three sports and stuff like that.
Okay. Yeah. So, how does social media work in your school district? Obviously got the 18 different schools and 10,000 students. So, let's just break down how you guys approach social media. What channels are you on and things like that?
Yeah, great question. So again, with my background, right, coming from B2B marketing, content strategy, that sort of thing, that is something that I am very into and I believe in. And if you do it well and you do it right and you do it consistently, you're gonna be able to get a lot of data that you can measure. And so I like to do a lot of A/B testing, and I believe that there's value in content done strategically and smartly and sustainably. So when I joined the district, if you do the math, I'm just finishing up my fourth school year here. So you can imagine, like when I joined the school district, what we were in the middle of, right? We were in a little bit of a brand crisis that a lot of other school districts were into around the pandemic and masking protocols and political elections and everything like that. And so when I joined the district, and when I say we, I mean our schools, our building principals, as well as the district, we just weren't as consistent or as out there, I think, as we needed to be. We were fearful, we were a little scared. And so when I joined the district, one of the first things I did is I set up times to go to every single one of our schools and sit down with our building principals, let them give me a tour of their building, and just ask them two questions. What do you love about this place? And what's your biggest headache that you have when it comes to communication that you'd like to see me and my team help with? And common trends emerged. And one of the biggest ones was we feel stressed out about all the social media stuff, so we just haven't really been doing it. So if you can help us, that'd be great.
Yeah.
So that's the landscape that we came into, and I'm sure Andrea, you've heard that story a lot, or something similar to that a lot in your valuable work across the country. So we start what we did when in the first school year I was here with all the training I gave everybody. We just started small. We already had pages on most of the main platforms, but posting was sporadic, it was lacking vision, and people were feeling pressure to be like, oh, I need to produce this much on these many platforms and all that stuff. So first training session I did with everybody, I just got in front of all of them and I said, y'all, pick a platform, pick one, the one where your audience is at, who you need to be talking to the most right now, and let's just get good at that. And then let's do a couple of other things. Let's get back into the habit of sharing positive, proactive stuff. And when in doubt, share smiling photos of students and teachers. Because what we had gotten away from in the midst of all the pandemic was we forgot to humanize things. And if you put I actually put this together in a slide deck for our principals. Like if you look at the touch point cycle of the types of touch points our parents were getting from us. Some of it was necessary, but if you look at the types of touch points that were coming out from us throughout a year during that period, a lot of it was frustrating or sterile or negative or new protocols, and we just weren't getting our people in front of them. We weren't reminding them that we were taking care of people here. We weren't reminding them that we were an educational entity. So that's where we started. Um, our team is actually going to be presenting at Inspire National this summer on a lot of the growth that we've seen in the last 3 years because of our content marketing. We're in a much better place now. Sustainable systems, posting more frequently, more strategically, and our trust and favorability scores, both in terms of district and school perception and satisfaction with communication, are the best they've been since before the pandemic, and that's been 2 years running. And a big piece of that is what we've been doing with our content marketing in terms of just trying to remember we're humanizing things, we're being consistent and sustainable in places strategically, and we're bringing everything back to instruction and the student experience.
Yeah.
So I talked for a really long time. That's a very high level overview, but that's kind of how we got to where we got to. We've got Facebook pages for every single one of our schools. We've got a Facebook and Instagram page for our high school activities as well. And then we're very active on our district pages, LinkedIn and Instagram and Facebook. And from a district perspective, our team, we're producing a regular regiment of content every day. We've got benchmarks of what we expect to do every day.
Okay. So you said district-wide Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn?
For the district platforms. And then
Yeah.
every school has
Facebook.
at least a Facebook page.
Okay.
And then the other big thing we did last year was we aggregated all of our activity stuff and built them their own individual platforms where all the activities lives in like one space rather than having 25 different random smally followed pages of
Like
all the different
baseball or
activities.
FFA or those things like that all goes into the activity. So it's sports and like extracurriculars. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. I like that. And that's mainly for the high school, right?
Yep. And
Okay.
we updated our policies for that too. So the policy that we are operating now too as a school district is that every school gets a branded page on whatever approved platforms we deem are approved, and then the high school gets two. They get one for the school and one for activities. And taking that approach has made things a whole lot easier for our families and our community members to follow along with our social content, in addition to the district pages that I and my team run, where we're constantly churning things out at a much higher and more consistent and strategic clip than we were a few years ago.
Yeah. Okay, I love that. And I have been talking to so many people. I'm doing a book club right now over the summer on my social media for schools book. And just talk, so many people struggle with all the pages that people create. And so when you can create that one strategy that this is what we're giving you, and this is what we've got, and not to say that somebody might go rogue and try to set something else up, but hopefully then you
Right.
can kind of steer them back. And it sounds like you're such a great leader in that you can explain the strategy behind all of it. And so it's like, why would I set up a separate page when I'm going to get way more views by staying consistent and being able to post on this page versus these others? Just a quick question for all of your school folks that are posting. Do you have like a small team that's just part of their jobs? They don't get extra money, or do they have like a small stipend? How do you handle that?
Yeah, that's a question we get a lot. So we are very proudly connected to Class Intercom. That
Mhm.
is our district-wide solution. We are loud and proud about that. Love Class Intercom. They take great care of us. So if anyone, I'm actually an ambassador for them. So I have districts reach out to me throughout the year asking about, how to use that platform or how to think strategically through that platform. So shout out to them. They take great care of us. But for us, we have a couple of different setups. At our elementary and middle schools, we have built into the job descriptions of our principals and our media integration specialists that social media is an expectation. So we don't do stipends because we've got them built into job descriptions. But if you don't have that in your district, stipends are a great thing. I fully endorse them. We just don't have them here.
Okay. Okay.
At our high school, it's a little bit different. We've got two different high school campuses with our one school, and it's really big, and a lot going on with our academy model system. So basically, at our school level, we've got our administrators, our academy principals, and our main principal all have access. And then at our activities, we have our activities director, assistant activities director, and then head coaches or directors have access to be able to collaborate in class intercom. And then what we've given to the high school, we did this for the first time this last year, and we saw some cool stuff out of it, is we give any club or sport or fine art an opportunity to say if they want to have a student create content, because Class Intercom provides you the space to be able to do that in a safe manner, which we love. And it's not a required thing, it's an opt-in. So that it's if it's something that those activities or those clubs want to do, they can, but they don't feel like it's another thing they have to try to accommodate. So we had students in student council creating content. We've got students on our cheer team and dance team, students on a couple of our other fine arts and sports that were creating content as well. So that's our apparatus.
Okay, awesome. You did such a great job explaining that. And just so you know, Social School for EDU is a class intercom user. So we use it for our 90 schools that we celebrate across the country. So great to see you using those folks. And Jill and Ben and the folks at Class Intercom will appreciate that genuine shout out.
So I
Okay,
gotta I gotta tell you one nugget about this because
yes,
I like to give this fun plug every time.
yeah.
So Ben Pankinen, shout out to Ben, good friend. He is actually an alum from our district.
Oh, so cool.
So cool.
Have
We're
you
very
ever
proud of that.
have you featured him in a Throwback Thursday?
Not in a Throwback Thursday, but one thing that we do every year in our annual report is we do alumni interviews on our podcast, and then we QR code to those interviews in the Where Are They Now feature in our annual report. We featured him a couple of years ago and let him tell his story and talk about all the cool stuff he's doing.
That's awesome. And they do some of their own like fun reels and stuff. So anyways, that's so super cool. I did not know that.
Yep.
Okay. Now this has already been like a full-fledged podcast, value added. But now we're going to jump into why I wanted you on the show, which was going cell phone free at your high school. So you guys
Yeah.
kind of did it first, I think maybe back in 2023, I'm not sure, but so going cell phone free, kind of where did it start and how was the communication department brought into that process?
So, yes, this is the reason we all want to talk, right? Let's talk cell phones.
Yeah.
The my thesis statement for everything is I couldn't be more grateful to be in the place that I'm in, and I couldn't be more proud of the cross collaboration that this project took. You asked about like when was communications brought into this thing. I'm gonna tell you from day one, from the very first time this started to be talked about. I think what we're gonna talk about today and what our process was in communicating through things, because that's obviously what my expertise is in. It is a case study example of the healthy relationship between district communications and high school administration. We worked together every step of the way, and there were no surprises, there were no gotchas, there were no, oh, we need this tomorrow type of things. We really did this in concert together, and I think that's one of the reasons why it was able to be effective. So in 2023, um, our school was just going through a lot of stuff that a lot of schools go through, right? Anxiety's at an all-time high. Classroom engagement is going down. Our scores during our annual culture and climate survey that we're required to administer by the state, our high school students were reporting, all of these things that we knew to be true, which was they're struggling. And we also know that devices were becoming an issue. Um, so I think, Andrea, I think it was October, like end of September, early October of 2023. I'm at the high school for an event. I'm getting footage, doing my thing. I'm talking to people and everything like that. And I'm all done. I'm packing up my stuff and I'm walking down the hallway by one of our main offices. And the executive principal just popped out because he saw me. He goes, Mitch, come in my office. I'm going to talk to you about something. So yeah, let's do it. His name's Jeff. Shout out to Jeff. And he sat me down and he said, I just had a conversation with our admin team yesterday, and I don't know where this is going to go yet, but I want you to be a part of this every step of the way. So I'm telling you right now. And I said, what? He goes, I think we're going to seriously think about doing something about cell phones in the middle of the school year. And I was like, all right, man. Like, if we're going to rip this Band-Aid off, let's do it. It's going to be a mountain. We're going to scale this together, but I'm so grateful that you brought me here to let me know that this is where you're at so that we can start thinking and collaborating together. So that's when it started. End of September, early October 2023. We announced our intentions with everybody in early end of November, like after Thanksgiving. And then we went cell phone free that January 3rd, 2024.
Pretty quick.
Yeah.
Like you said, rip off the Band-Aid. Like just I feel so this was back in 2023. I just feel nowadays there's probably so much more support because there's even more data, which I know you're going to share with us.
hmm
But I know that there's a lot of folks listening that possibly going into this next school year, they're doing the same thing. And so I asked Mitch before we started, I'm like, can you share some of your resources? So we're going to make sure in the show notes that we share some of the things that you shared. But this campaign, I mean, not only was I impressed, and sometimes I'm easily impressed because, I don't have all the background that you do, and I've never worked inside of a school, but your project actually won an NSPRA Golden Achievement Award, which is super cool. And I know you really followed the RPI process. So research, planning, implementation, and then evaluation. So could you share some of the details? And of course, I know it's more than just social media, but my listeners really love the use of social media. So, just share all of that so that we can really find out how you did this and how you did it so quickly.
Yeah. So how do we do it quickly? I Well, it became a huge priority. And so when it's a big priority, it matters. But the other thing that I'm grateful for is that because I'm fortunate to have a team of two other folks that are working full time for us, um, our quote unquote normal content cycle, the way we support the district, the content that we produce, that was able to keep running while I'm spending a lot of my time collaborating with our folks at our high school to try to make sure we land this plane as well as we can. But I want to come back to, I think there are two big reasons why that we feel like this was successful for us. Number one, I already talked about, which was the incredible collaboration and trust that we had between district communications and the high school. That's huge. The second one is um, we were truly motivated by what we claimed was the reason for doing this. Like we're we're doing this for students. Our mission statement at our district is every student every day is success. That drives everything that we do. And I want to read to you something that we put in our communication that we initially sent out to everybody when we announced to the world that this is something we were going to be doing. Because bold but empathetic was the theme that I kept telling our high school, which was this is going to be a bold step and we need to be unapologetic about what we're doing, but we also need to be empathetic about why we're being bold. And if we do that consistently, I think our people will come along with us. So here's what we said. GISH is what we call our school. It's called Grand Island Senior High. So GISH is the acronym. We have seen at GISH that cell phones, earbuds, and other personal electronic devices do not serve a helpful academic purpose. We have a responsibility to respond to the growing issues of cyberbullying and fostering healthy hallways and classrooms. To better ensure the safety and emotional well being of all students, we have made the decision to be a cell phone free school starting in January 2024. So that's what we started with. Why in the world are we doing this? Because we feel like we have a responsibility to take as much care of our kids as we possibly can while they are in our care in our buildings. And that is what we established first, and that influenced everything else that we built out and allowed us to be much more consistent. And then following the RPI process,
Yep.
that's our Bible. That's what we do. We had the data that showed that things weren't trending in the right direction at our school.
Mhm.
So we made a decision and we started building a plan about how to communicate that consistently and empathetically with everybody.
Yeah. So, just as far as like the implementation and the actual communications that then went out and what you decided to create, because you not only have to get, I guess, you got to get buy-in from staff that are going to have to enforce it. You got to get buy-in from the students that are going to have to comply. And I don't know about you. I got to ask, were parents the biggest issue? Because sometimes the parents are like, I need to get a hold of my kid. And I'm like, dude, call the school then, just like they had to do back in my day, right? And I'm guilty. I got six kids, Mitch, and so if I need to talk to one of the kids, I'm texting them, but I don't
Yeah.
necessarily expect them if they're at school to text me back. But my kids, they always do. and they might be in the middle of class. So tell me a little bit about how you had to communicate to those different audiences and what you decided to, what did that campaign look like?
Absolutely. So, as you know, like you've got to tailor things to audiences, especially when it's this high stakes. The good news, spoiler alert, the good news is like most everybody was on board.
Okay.
Like we had a lot of positive momentum going into it, and then we could talk a little bit later about the success rate of it after we went live. But the good news is it went well. But I would say the biggest thing that the one universal message that we shared with everyone was that we were going cell phone free. And I know your listeners will understand this. The words you choose are just as important as the words that you don't choose. So you'll notice when I say cell phone free, what words are not in that phrase? Ban, right?
No.
We're not saying banning phones. We're saying we're going cell phone free. So the cornerstone of that communication was students and staff will share the same expectations. And because the other thing we're doing is we're going to prioritize teaching bell to bell. And so, if students and staff are going to be doing this together, and we're going to say the phone can be on your person, it just can't be out, then what we're trying to establish then is, because it's a learning environment, a shared responsibility where we are learning and doing something together. And our administration team at the high school believed very, very much in that model that said, we think if we handle this right, that we can do this in a healthy manner that doesn't just feel like we're making people lock everything up in those pouches or whatever, right?
Hmm.
So that helped. And then not long after we had these initial conversations, we had a PD day in the district. And so the high school spent the entire PD day doing connecting conversations with folks, saying, like, we know what your largest frustrations are in the classroom. We're attempting to do something about this. So let's talk about this together. And let's talk about the shared responsibility piece. So that's how we got the staff on board. That was really a great way to start getting them to think about it. Because again, if we make this decision in October, we announce in November, and we're going live in January, we actually have a little bit of time to be able to engage with folks before we actually do the thing.
Hmm.
With students, we have a positive supports team at all of our schools. Our positive supports team at our high school put together a slide deck and some talking points that they made available to all of the staff at the high school so that they can facilitate conversations confidently in their classrooms and during their homeroom times. And so that was huge, giving students the time and the space to air things out in safe spaces. And then with parents, we gave them an FAQ sheet. We built out a web page, and we just shared with them some of our data and all of the reasons why we were doing what we were doing, and told them as early as we possibly could, again, so that they could have a few months to warm up to this thing. And then we let them know that we were talking to their kids about it at school, and we encouraged them to talk about it at home. So the social media content that we produced around that all affirmed those messages. It said, this is what we're doing. This is when we're going to be doing it. This is why. Here's the link to the resources. Reach out to your counselors, reach out to your academy principals. We made it very clear that we would make accommodations for students that needed them. And then we just really got our parents ready to deal with what I call regression, and said, you're going to call the office. And that's okay.
Right. Old fashioned. Okay, so
Yep.
question, what exactly was the policy then? When you say cell phone free, I heard you say you do get to have it on you, but you don't get to have it out from bell to bell. What about lunch periods? And then, and then I know that you shared a little bit in our gold mine session about, kind of a set of percussion or repercussions if there was violations found. So can you expand on that?
Absolutely. So this is where our admin team really comes into play. I obviously know how they implement this, but a lot of this was them putting this together, which I salute them. It's further proof that we've got the right leaders in our building. But we are cell phone free from 8:05 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. the entire day,
Okay.
passing periods and lunch periods included.
Okay.
If you are inside the building during school hours, we are cell phone free together, and your phone must be out of sight unless you have special permission. That's the expectation. And again, coming back to language, right? Everything that we built out, social media posts, posters in our classrooms, materials that we sent home, slides on the slideshows in our rolling TVs, everything. It was all using positive, affirming language. We're not saying cell phones not allowed. We're not saying banning. We were saying cell phone free. Cell phones must be away and out of sight. Again, that was very intentional, a collaborative effort between our communications team and our high school to say, we want this to feel as proactive as possible and not restrictive. So we chose as much positive action language as we could rather than negative. So we're cell phone free all day. The way it gets moderated is I believe teachers have the agency to be able to issue two warnings to a student in a classroom. And if the student does not adhere to the two warnings, then they may call down an administrator and the administrator may confiscate the phone. Our protocols dictate clearly that only administrators have the agency to confiscate phones.
Okay.
So that helps with the consistency and fidelity across the building. And then if a phone is confiscated, then the building administrator takes it back to the office, puts it in a brown paper bag with a little note card stapled to it. And they call the guardian. And the guardian is has the opportunity to come in and pick up the device, but it has to be between the time of 4 and 4:30 on a school day. It is intentionally inconvenient. The idea is to then try to minimize how much this happens. And if it's inconvenient, then maybe we would have a little bit more buy-in of our parents being willing to talk to their kids about it at home. And then when the guardian comes in, they must speak to the administrator that confiscated the phone. The administrator communicates to the guardian why this happened. The student had this many chances to follow the protocols and they chose not to. And then the administrator writes the notes of the conversation on that note card. That note card gets filed away, so we've got a record of it. The guardian gets to leave with the device. So that is how we monitor the cell phone free usage in the school.
Okay. I like it. Um, let's see. What now are some of the results of the program? Because you had some pretty remarkable, I mean, we talk about performance, academic performance, but I know that you had other impacts as well, as far as like school violence and some of those things. So, tell me a little bit about the results you guys saw.
Absolutely. So I'll share some data with you. So back when we were looking at some things and trying to decide if this was the direction we were going to go, our culture climate data showed in 2002 that only 60% of our students felt positive social awareness at school, and 49% of the students said they had positive feelings about the school.
Okay, you
So
just
that's
said 2002, so was that way back 20 some years ago?
that was oh, I'm sorry, 2022. I
Okay,
misspoke.
2022. Okay, so just restate that again because I was so
Yep. So
2022.
2022, our culture climate data was showing 60% of students felt positive social awareness at the high school, and 49% of students felt like they had positive feelings about school. So that lets you know the foundation of kind of where we were at with anxiety and social connections and pandemic issues and things like that. So after we went cell phone free, the first school year, we well, let me pull up my data here.
Yeah.
Oh, the other data before we went cell phone free was that we have, in partnership with a local clinic, we have a health center, a wellness center in our high school, and they had reported in the early part of the 23-24 school year that they had so the no, in the 22-23 school year, they had the most behavioral health appointments they had ever had. And then the pace at the start of the 23-24 school year was set to outpace the record-breaking year they had the year before. And so that was huge. And then let me pull up our data for after. So after we went live, we only confiscated 27 phones on the first day out of our 2,700 students.
Okay.
And then by March, because we went live in January 2024. By March, we were confiscating about 6 phones per day per average. And then our perception data a year later is that our teachers were reporting better feedback and higher level of engagement in the classroom they've seen since before the pandemic. Kids are having more conversations at lunch during the class and in class. I actually put this on a podcast episode we did when we did a check-in on the cell phone policy. Um,
Well, we'll
I
link to
actually
that
took
podcast if that's okay.
Yeah, you can link
Okay.
to it. That's totally fine. But
Yep.
I actually took my microphone through the lunchroom so you could actually hear what it sounded like because it used to be silent because everybody was on their phones. And now
Yes.
you could actually hear kids interacting, which is great. Kids' heads are up or in the hallways. We've got a decreased number of passes being given out throughout the day because kids aren't trying to sneak out and do stuff on their phones. Hard data that we've seen. A year later, our attendance rate increased by 7%, and tardies are down all across the board. Our major incidents decreased by 37%, and our confiscation of personal electronic devices decreased by 150.
Wow.
So we're trending in the right direction, and we feel like it's accomplishing what we set out to do, which is higher classroom engagement, better responsibility for the wellness and social emotional connection of our students, and safer school.
Yeah. When you talked about like the 60% positive feelings or and then like the 49% just positive feelings about school. Did you get new numbers for that yet?
Our school does. I don't have that yet. I will
Okay.
get that probably later this summer.
Okay, awesome. Just I'm sure that things have improved there as well. And so
Mhm.
that's really powerful. Just trying to think of any other questions that folks that are listening may have. And we'll definitely, Mitch, give out your contact information so that they can reach out if they've got additional questions. I'm assuming too that if they go to your Facebook page, they'll if you just type in the search bar, cell phone free, you're probably going to find a lot of those different posts and things that you were able to share or that you shared when you were launching it, along with do you have an ongoing campaign where you talk about it, or is it just kind of understood now?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Yes, you can find our stuff online, um, and on our website, and I'll send you links after this, Andrea, that you can share out. Um, it's we don't have an ongoing campaign around it, and I think because of our larger media strategy that we took and the intentional communication and the way we had buy-in from everybody and how successful it was, it's just become part of our culture now. And what one thing again, this is perception data, but this was really cool. Um, our team got to tag along with the eighth grade tours of our high school this year. We have 3 middle schools in our district that all feed to the one high school. And so each middle school eighth grade class gets their own day at our high school where they just get to be in the building for a whole day and see everything. And so our comms team tags along for those because that's just a great opportunity for us to get some great footage. And the building tour portion of that is always done by our high school student ambassadors, which is really cool. So it's high school students talking to future high school students about what their experience is actually going to be. And here's the thing that was really, really cool to me, Andrea, is most of our eighth graders were fully aware of what the cell phone protocols were at the high school. And the other thing is that when they were asking about it, our student ambassadors handled it like pros. They said very positive things about how they think it's made their school better. They also shared some of the challenges that they have with it too. Talking about how, we really love our devices, but this is probably good for us, but here's how we do it. Here's how you can get permission to use your phone to take a picture of notes on the whiteboard, things like that. And it was just a very proactive conversation. And so what I loved about that was that our eighth graders knew about it and they felt comfortable to ask students at the high school about what their experience was. And a year later, our high school students are talking to them about not only their honest experiences, but they're able to see the matrix, so to speak, of how it's made their school a healthier place. And like that, I hold on to that moment quite a bit because I'm like, that speaks to so many things that we've done to try to embed this into our culture.
Yeah. Definitely. What is your cell phone policy at the middle school level, if I can ask?
Yeah, so it's very similar, but we have lockers at our middle school. Our high school, we don't have enough lockers for all of our students, so we don't do that. So at the middle school level, the expectation is that your devices be in your lockers.
Okay. Because I was thinking, I mean, I'd probably just leave it in my locker. And again, it's kind of some freedom for those 8 hours or whatever that you're at school. But there are some things where, hey, I want to take a picture of some notes or, whatever. And so hopefully they just put it on do not disturb, or have their phone off in their pocket. And that's great. So as we wrap up, Mitch, I always like to end with like your best social media tip. And you launched into so many good things when we started, but just to part with everybody, what would be your best social media tip?
Yeah, so I guess my best social media tip would be consistent but be sustainable. Like you'll hear all the talking heads talk about being consistent, and it matters. It really, really does. I believe in it, but especially in the school arena, like be consistent in a sustainable way. That's going to be the way you train your audience, your families, and your community constituents on the expectation of when and where they can hear from you. It's not necessarily about because you're trying to get people to buy something and you're trying to measure a metric or get people to opt into something. It's simply we have a responsibility as a public school district to say, here's what we're doing, community, to take care of our kids. Here's what we're doing to get our students ready for whatever it is that they want to do, to make them be college, career, and community ready. This is what we're doing. And so, if you've got that responsibility, let's find a sustainable way for you to be consistent so that then over time, your constituents, your stakeholders, your families, they will be able to know what the predictable cadence will be. So be consistent, but do it in a sustainable way.
I like it. Great advice. So if people want to reach out to you, Mitch, what's the best way for them to stay connected to you?
Yeah, email is a
Okay.
great, love email. If you want to get to me directly, email me, or you can find me on LinkedIn, Twitter, or Threads, and I can connect there. But email's probably the best way to find me.
Okay. Can you just tell us your email? We'll put it in the show notes too, but some people are just listening and they may want to just jot it down.
Yeah, absolutely. My general email is communications@gips.org. If you email that, it'll go to me directly and we can have a conversation from there.
I love it. Okay, I'm gonna make sure that that is listed in our show notes. Thanks for hanging out. I probably will have you back. We'll talk a little bit more about your intern program and how you got approval for that. I'm also excited that your school district is, committed enough to communications to know that three-person department plus almost another half-time intern, it's worth it. So I hope you guys take a look at GIPS's pages, get some inspiration, and then Mitch is a really nice guy, so you can ask him about class intercom, ask him about obviously the cell phone stuff, and we will get some resources so you guys can take a look at it. But I just love all the strategic approach to this, Mitch, and then it's come so natural to you. And obviously, you were in corporate where, it's, I don't know, sometimes things make more sense and how it's laid out in corporate a little bit. And sometimes we can get convoluted when it comes to schools, but really, you explained it in a really amazing way. And so I think this is a great example. And obviously it is because NSPRA gave it a Golden Achievement Award. So congratulations and truly thank you for all that you do, not only for your school district, but for how you're helping other people around the country kind of navigate this. We're really lucky to have you in this career field. So thank you.
It's incredibly nice of you to say, Andrea. I'm fortunate to have the best job in the world. I love what I do, where I do it, with the people that I do it with. I'm surrounded by incredible people. We get the opportunity to tell the stories every day of some of the most amazing people I've ever met in the sector of public education. To me, that's the opportunity of a lifetime. But I also believe that if one public school is doing well, then we deserve to support other public schools because when public education is championed and in a good place, I think we're all better for it. So I
Yeah.
appreciate you sharing the time and space and letting me hang out because I'm always happy to chat about how we can champion public schools.
Yeah, and obviously you're an expert podcaster. You've been doing that for a lot of years, and I know some people get on this, Mitch, and they're a little nervous because usually they're behind the scenes. But
Of
obviously
course.
you did great, and all my guests do well. But thanks so much for hanging out with us today, and everybody. Hey, it's gearing up to be the best school year yet. I agree with Mitch. We have the best job. It's stressful sometimes. Okay, doesn't mean it's not stressful. But what a privilege to be able to highlight the amazing things happening in our schools, and we can all get inspiration from each other. So, you guys keep telling those stories. Let's buckle in. And thanks again, Mitch. We'll see you guys. Have a great one.
Thank you.